In today's video, I'm going to show you how to balance your Zhiyun Weebill 2 gimbal. Don't forget that this is the most important part during the setup process of your gimbal, because this will make your motors work less, giving you better battery life, and you can even get smoother footage. Also, make sure that you remove any accessories from your camera, such as battery straps or anything loose that moves around during operation of a gimbal. So you don't want shifting of weight. This will drastically decrease the battery life and overall performance of your gimbal. Also, if you're using a zoom lens, make sure that you zoom out to your preferred focal length before balancing your gimbal. With these newer high-tech gimbals that are more powerful, you can actually zoom in and zoom out without having to rebalance for those quick shots. Don't forget that these gimbals can compensate for extra weight, but when you can, make sure you do rebalance the gimbal to get the utmost best performance out of your gimbal. Let's get started by removing the quick release plate and attaching it to our cameras. Start off by loosening up the tensioner arm and pressing the safety lock to slide out the quick release plate. Next, attach the quick release plate to your camera and make sure you have more space on the quick release plate in the front rather than the back, because cameras are more front heavy, especially when you have a large lens attached. Then use a flathead tool to tighten up the screw good and tight. Now attach your camera to the gimbal by sliding it on. Make sure you slide it in all the way so that way you hear the quick safety release lock. Hear that click? That's exactly what you want to hear. That means that your camera is safely attached. Next, lock up the tensioner. When balancing a gimbal, it's very important to understand that there are three different axes. You have the roll, the tilt, and the pan. We will have to balance all three of these axes. Don't worry, the first time it may be a little bit frustrating, but with practice, you'll be able to balance your gimbal in about 20 to 30 seconds. First off, we're gonna work with the tilt axis. We're gonna loosen up the lock. That way it frees the motor and we can actually tilt the gimbal by hand. Our main objective is to be able to lean the camera up or face the camera up and not have it swing down. So if we leave the camera upright right here, and remove our hands, it should stay upright. We're gonna start off by loosening up this adjustment right here on the quick release plate. We should be able to slide the camera forward or backward, but make sure it doesn't flop forward or backward. You want the camera to remain centered without flopping over. So it's just a little bit of trial and error. Slide the camera back, then check. Does it want to tilt forward? Then slide it back some more. Now it wants to lean back a little bit. We're gonna push the quick release plate just forward a little bit. Done. Now lock up the quick release plate. Now once that's done, we have another tilt adjustment. Notice if I put the camera upright and leave it alone, it's gonna swing forward. Our tilt is only half balanced. There's actually another adjustment right here. Make sure you loosen up the tensioner and this will be able to move our camera up or down. To get the best balance, make sure that you keep your camera upright and push it up or down until it remains up without flopping forward or back. Remember to use both hands because this thing can slide around pretty easily. Alright, it's staying upright. Once it does that, you can lock it up. Now check the tilt one more time. Alright, it looks like the camera still wants to flop backward. So that's a really easy fix. We're just gonna loosen up the quick release plate and push the camera slightly forward. Notice now how it wants to stay centered. That's a properly balanced tilt axis. Now we can lock it up. Now let's balance the roll axis. Remember, each motor has its own separate lock. All you have to do is press the lock up and it will release the motor. Don't forget that you can lock up the other motors from swinging just in case you want a better balancing experience. Now with the roll axis, the same principle applies. I should be able to have my gimbal centered just like this and not have it flop over to the right or to the left. If it flops over to the right, we need to counterbalance it by moving the camera over to the left. We have a special adjustment for this and you can find it right here. Once it's loose, slide it over to the left or to the right. Remember to use both hands and make micro adjustments. You will know when the camera is balanced when it remains center. So just make very tiny adjustments here. Notice how the camera still wants to flop over, so just go the opposite direction of that flop. And once you get it right, it will remain center just like it is right now. Once it remains center, lock up that tensioner. Now it looks like we're in a really good position with our gimbal. Our tilt and our roll axes are balanced. Now let's work on the pan. The pan axis is the most overlooked axis. People think that it's not as important as either the roll or the tilt, but believe it or not, it has a big role when it comes down to stabilizing your camera rig. So let's loosen up the axis and I'll show you how to balance it. Once the axis is freed up from the lock, pick up your gimbal and lean it over to the side. If it swings around, that means that your gimbal is not properly balanced on the pan axis. All we have to do is loosen up the tensioner arm on the other side of the motor axis lock. Once you've done that, you can push the system forward or backward. Remember, make micro adjustments, use two hands, and this is a trial and error process. You can see here that I'm picking up the gimbal, leaning it over, and it's not swinging around. We have a properly balanced pan axis here. Once your pan axis is balanced, let's do one final check to make sure everything is looking good. Loosen up all of the axes, and position your camera in any way that you want. If you have a properly balanced gimbal, it will remain in that position. See how it doesn't want to swing back? It stays in that position that we left it at. That means we have a properly balanced gimbal. Now that your gimbal is properly balanced, make sure you check out this video right here where I show you the best settings for your Weebill 2 gimbal. In that video, I will also show you the balance checker, which is a built-in tool into the Zhiyun Weebill 2, which will show you if your motors are under any stress. If they are, then your gimbal is not properly balanced. Remember, any changes on the weight of your camera during a shoot will require a rebalance. This is if you want the best performance possible. So you can use this video as a constant reference while you're shooting, or if you're just trying to learn more about your gimbal. Also, if you're interested in getting your own Zhiyun Weebill 2, make sure you check out my link down below on where you can get it. Also, check out my review video for it right here. And if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe with those notifications turned on, and I will see you in another video. Peace.